Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the Chris Gethard Show podcast. It's really cool that you're checking this out.
We're about to do, I think, the dumbest show we've done in years.
His life would be trash!
Hey, you better believe I'm trashed.
We are scrappy trash people.
What's the point of this show? I just turned it on.
We've always been with this show.
We've always been trash people. We will always be trash people.
It's true.
This doesn't feel real.
Live from my grandmother's basement, we are about to watch Joe Rumrell and Rachel Pegram on Chris Gethard Presents. And I'm really excited about that. Are you excited about that, Robin, Judge Robin?
I'm Judge Robin.
Are you excited?
Oh, yeah, I'm excited.
And what about you, Forrest, Keeper of the Canon?
I'm also excited to go to chemistry class.
Yeah, gonna be blind dates, but that isn't what we're talking about tonight. That's just a clue to tell you how long it takes us to edit our episodes. But what we're talking about tonight is the Chris Gethard Show on public access. We go through those ancient tomes, we watch the shows, we review them for you so that you don't have to, and tell you if you should, if you want to. So today, we are discussing episode 13, the What's on My Head episode, which aired September 14th, 2011.
And the musical guest is Big Digits, and the panel included Chris Gethard, Shannon O'Neill, Don Finelli, the handsomest man in Hackensack, New Jersey, Random Gene, Bethany Hall, The Human Fish, and Cypher Sounds.
And the theme of the game today is What's on My Head, where a member of the panel will be wearing a headband with a picture on it. They cannot see the panel, and callers will give clues to the member, and they have to try to guess what it is. And the last person who ends up with it at the end of the episode has to karaoke We Didn't Start the Fire. They also get to keep the headband.
Yeah. They can't see the picture that's on the headband, not the panel. Yeah. The theme for the calls was, when have you felt most out of your element? Robin, Judge Robin, when have you felt most out of your element?
I'm pretty in my element everywhere. I was trying to think of a good one. You know what? So, every time I go hang out with my my girlfriend's family, so I'm the tallest one in my family, and she's the shortest one in her family. So like,
and she's 6 feet tall.
She's a little under 6 feet, yeah. And so it's like a lot of looking up at a lot of, like, even her grandmother's taller than me. It's insane.
Wait, how tall are you?
I'm like
5'7"?
I'm 5'10" on Tinder.
Rachel Pegram is in a short called Finding Out Your Boyfriend is Short, where they discuss it with each other like as if it's like an STD, essentially. It's very great.
I'm upfront about being short. Although I guess I'm not really. I grew up, when I was like young, I was super short, so I have the short person personality.
That's why you're funny.
Yeah.
What about you, Judge Robin? I'm sorry, not Judge Robin.
You mean Forrest, the
Keeper
of the Canon? Like probably every time I go to a sports game. Because I'm just like, but I mean, we could do this, or I could look at Gethard's Twitter. Yeah, I know it's like a cliche answer, but I think it's sport.
Sport.
When I witness sport.
I have felt out of my element a lot in my life. Like a lot. I'm not just in like nerd situations where I'm like, I'm a girl. But like in classrooms and group, I often feel really out of my element. And I'm like a cat. Like Gatsby, my cat, when a bunch of people are over, he likes to sit in a corner and look at everyone for a little while, and then he like walks into the middle of everyone and is like, behold, asking to be pet. I'm a lot like that. I like to get my bearings before talking to people, and so people think I'm really quiet, and then they're like, what has happened? Why is this the loudest, craziest, weird ass person in the room? Like, where the fuck did that come from? It came from right here. Yeah. Yeah. So after that question is asked or posed to the show in episode 13, we get our first human fish question. Ron Howard versus Howard Hessman. And Ron Howard wins. Ron Howard's the porn star?
No, Ron Howard
No?
is the director of Solo, A Star Wars Story,
Oh.
Apollo 13, Willow, and many other fine movies.
You're thinking of Ron Jeremy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So Ron they're both Rons, but
But Howard Hessman is an actor primarily known for playing DJ Dr. Johnny Fever on WKRP in Cincinnati, which is thematically appropriate because Cypher Sounds is a DJ. I don't know what that movie is
It's
or
a
who that
TV show.
character is. Okay.
it was a TV show from, I think, the 70s set in a radio station in Cincinnati.
Well, thank you, Forrest Keeper of the
Fun
Cannon.
fact, it's literally the only thing Cincinnati's known for.
And Chris was so in awe of Cypher because Cypher is a DJ for Hot 91.7 that he's just so self-deprecating about the Chris Gethard Show and thinks Cypher is way too cool to be there. And then Cypher's like, but I want to be in comedy. Like, this is where I want to be. Which, like, makes sense because Cypher is very much in the comedy world now since this episode.
Chris does that a lot.
Yeah.
He often likes to tell guests, he's like, why are you here? We are so terrible and nerdy and you are so cool.
I mean, it's like
it's a nice way to disarm them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From being in an arguably very weird situation.
especially that early on when the reputation for weirdness wasn't even necessarily what it became.
That is true. I mean, it didn't need to get a reputation for weirdness. Was there any other descriptor of the Chris Gethard Show but weird?
No.
It's Wednesday night with the weirdest guy we know.
That's a good point. It's weird up front.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I
they're
was
like
wrong with
Robin's Tinder up front about their height.
Yeah. Anyway. So the time Chris starts by telling the time he felt most out of his element, which is apparently when he was younger he volunteered, or when he was in like high school. Was it high school? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think.
Anyway, he volunteered to go to one of those scared straight things. I don't know if you remember those from like, I think it was from like the 90s where they would just take kids and like have them talk to prisoners and the prisoners would try to scare them into not committing crimes.
Well, he went to the one where they actually filmed the scared straight videos. Like, it was that prison.
Oh, really? Yeah. Anyway, he was the only one who volunteered. Like, everyone else was like forced to go.
Can you imagine?
I can, and it's funny. Like, Chris gets stressed out in normal situations. I don't want to know what he is in when like he's got like a tattooed convict yelling at him.
Well, especially like as like a kid, too.
Oh, yeah.
See, when I'm picturing him in my head, though, he still has the same hair. And then next we start the game. Shannon gets randomly chosen to be the first person, and she gets a picture of a large monkey on her head.
I think it's an orangutan. I wrote
it's an orangutan?
chimp, but I think
Well,
it's an orangutan.
I wrote chimp.
That's true.
Yeah. I'll fall on that sword. But we then get our first caller, and their out-of-place story was their friend who was a born-again Christian invited them to church. And the caller was so weirded out by the church speaking in tongues and rolling on the floor that she didn't know what to do. So she just faked it and spoke in Spanish as her tongues because it's supposed to be a language and not just gibberish. So she just went with the foreign language she knows.
Well, wait. So, Forrest, you
Yeah.
have some experience with
I
these
know. I know
churches.
speaking in tongues.
So, what these pastors do, if I have this right, correct me. They go
Mm-hmm.
around and they're like, you need to feel the Holy Spirit, and then they push you on the forehead.
Yeah.
And at that point, if they feel the Holy Spirit, which they ought to,
Yeah.
they are to fall to the ground and speak in tongues.
You don't have to fall to the ground to speak in tongues, but sometimes that does. It does sound like that's what was happening here. You can also just speak in tongues, which is supposed to be the like pre-Tower of Babel language.
Like
channeled-
Esperanto?
No, that's from like 1970. But the pre-Tower of Babel language, like coming through you, is my understanding.
There's a great video on the internet of like one of those like mega churches, and the guy like waving his hand and everyone starts falling down, and they put that to the song "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor."
Oh, that's amazing. And then Shannon gets her first clue, and I think, Emily, you have a clip of that.
Oh, yeah.
Fat upper pussy area.
It's fupa.
Yeah.
She
it was
gets fupa.
And then Shannon has to explain what it means.
Fat upper pussy area.
Yeah.
Oh, Chris.
Well, Chris explains what it means.
Well, Chris says he thinks that's what it means, and then Shannon is like, yeah, and Sypha is like, yeah.
Yeah, it is confirmed.
And then Shannon gives her first guess.
My guess is a vagina.
Which, fair enough, that's a very good guess for that clue, but she, as we said, was wrong.
All right, then we get our next caller. It's everyone's least favorite caller, Joe from Queens. Once again, does the same shtick where he insults Shannon, tells her to smile.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Joe from Queens.
Chris clarifies that Shannon legitimately hates this guy.
You think you're being funny. Shannon legitimately hates you.
Yeah. I think you're a faceless pile of shit.
That was a faceless pile of shit for anyone who couldn't hear that. Do you have another clip of Shannon making fun of Joe?
Oh, yeah. She just starts imitating him at a certain... I just got a lot from this call because I thought Shannon is so badass.
Oh, yeah. Shannon's really funny.
Yeah, Shannon saves that call.
I really hate this guy. I don't think it's a funny bit. I don't think that Shannon saving it makes it worthwhile.
Oh, no. It's definitely not worthwhile. Shannon is, like, managing to turn, like, a turd into gold.
Yeah.
But it's still a turd.
You calm down, sweetheart.
All right.
Yeah.
And then he gives Shannon a really lame clue, which is what you look like when you look in the mirror or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
that was
stupid.
it.
It's mean.
Yeah. The idea being she looks like a chimp.
And in order to really salvage this entire situation, Gene comes in with
I would rather date Shannon than date you.
You know,
which, like,
A for effort.
Isn't B- for effort.
I mean, like,
she tries.
She's not wrong.
Shannon,
Look.
yeah. Shannon points out it's kind of a diss to Shannon that
they're comparable at all?
That they're comparable remotely. I mean, I think it's just because she's trying to be like, oh, like, I'm not even into girls, but I would rather date this girl.
Yeah.
I would rather date Shannon than a lot of people, and I'm not into girls. Shannon's badass. All right, so Gethy returns. We're just going to talk about how I'm hot for Shannon and then move right along. Chris recaps the brutal stabbing of Gethy because Gethy, the mascot of the show, has returned. He has gotten out of the hospital from previously being stabbed by some guy asking him for money. Gethy begins to kind of dance. He does the Macarena. He moves his little eyes around. When the villain returns, clapping like the Joker, just like doing a slow clap.
Oh, yeah. As
he walks in, Shannon's like concerned. Gene shouts to leave Gethy alone, but no. The person has an envelope that he hands to Gethy, and Gethy reaches out from his stomach with his third hand, a human one, to hand this person a gourd. And then the villain once again stabs Gethy, just shouting about how he wants money. And then he spits on Gethy as he leaves. And we get a tweet of the night because tonight they have the screen in the background, which previously had Noah Foreman controlling, now has tweets about the show. So it's like an early chat rat situation. I don't know. Was the chat happening then?
I don't actually know because I wasn't watching back this early. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool. They have tweets up, and the first tweet about Gethy was, "Gethy's so pathetic. He really makes me sad."
In happier news, Random Gene bought Chris a gift from our fair city of San Francisco.
From Amoeba.
From Amoeba in the Hate.
Ooh.
And says it's actually something Chris will like.
Random Gene, you just bought me a Morrissey picture disc single. This is not a cheap item. My favorite artist.
And then Chris flashes his Morrissey tattoo on his shoulder.
Trust fund Gene coming in with the expensive gifts.
He mentions that, like, people on the panel have been friends with him for longer and have not gotten him such a good gift.
I mean, it is a really thoughtful gift.
Apparently Dawn got him a signed picture of some basketball player. And he went,
John Starks,
and
who would later be on the Chris Gethard Show on Fusion. No, True TV.
It's a really good gift, honestly.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
All right, then. We get our next caller. They have their out of place story where they were at a Thanksgiving doing Thanksgiving with the family. Their family's all Jewish, and when they went around to say what they were thankful for, their friend that they brought along was Christian and said he was thankful for Jesus, which is cool, but it made the Jewish family feel uncomfortable. Honestly, going around the table saying what you're thankful for is already uncomfortable, so, like, I don't really think saying Jesus makes it that much weirder.
Born-again Christians have the ability to create mass social discomfort. Right?
True facts.
I'm excited for when at Thanksgiving my family asks what I'm thankful for, and I say, well, what I'm thankful for is Chris Gethard Presents, which airs at 8 p.m. Pacific on MNN or at chrisgeth.com/live.
Will they really be surprised, Forrest?
I mean, I didn't say surprised, just not like...
The word you were looking for was disappointed.
Yeah.
And then Shannon got her next clue, which is Think the Jungle Book, which is a very good clue. Shannon responds, just play the thing.
He's like a fat native person?
No. That was weird. That was a weird thing to say.
I think we can submit that without comment.
Yeah.
Then we get our musical guest. The musical guest is Big Digits. There is no controversy about this band, unlike last week, but they don't seem to be around anymore. Their Tumblr has now become a shoe and Christmas stocking selling website.
Yeah, when you go there, it just says Christmas leggings. We are a professional Christmas leggings wholesalers.
Yeah. So they were cool. It's like hip hop. Chris was excited because the studio audience immediately got up to dance, unlike a lot of weeks when they take the second song to start, like, tearing it up. And apparently there's a new rule at MNN that they can't promote literally any businesses. So they can't say where to buy Big Digits' album, which is apparently now nowhere. I think it might be because of that rule.
Maybe. But also, speaking of things that you can't really promote, Shannon says she's out of place at prom. I would have been if I had even gone to prom. So, like, my prom experience is just like their website just doesn't exist anymore. And then Don, like Judge Robin, feels in his element everywhere. He quote, I just feel good everywhere, which is like the least TCGS-y statement I've ever heard.
Oh, I feel bad everywhere. I'm just always in my element. Feeling bad is my element.
I feel like Don feels good everywhere. I was just kind of like, yes, the handsome white man. He feels comfortable
look, dude,
everywhere.
if I looked like Don and didn't look like a troglodyte, I'd feel good everywhere.
Bethany's out of place story took me by surprise, which was that when she was nannying in Westport, Connecticut, she got very drunk and invited strangers to join her in skinny dipping at the house that she was nannying at while the family was there. And then the family woke up. Bethany, appropriately, got kicked out and fired.
Yeah, and this is sort of the thing that I love most about Bethany.
But you occasionally throw down a story that's like, yeah, me and my two older brothers, like, killed a meth dealer.
It does help explain, like, how she got onto the show, though. Like,
the kind of person she is.
And
how she married Banana Man.
Yeah. Like, she clearly, like, is cool with, like, weird stuff. Like, weird shows and, like, groups that are, like, kind of crazy.
She is kind of crazy.
She also is kind of crazy. Yes.
She is one of the crazy elements.
Yeah. That's good clarification. I didn't mean to imply she wasn't crazy.
Oh, no, we wouldn't want to imply that someone isn't crazy. Oh. Then we hear from Twitter again.
Oh, sorry, that's me. Yeah, so some dude on Twitter is like super excited that Safe of Sounds is on TCGS. Sypha then thanks the guy for spelling his name correctly on Twitter. Apparently Sypha is hard. I guess it's a weird spelling. It's Cipha.
I would spell it probably Sipha.
I would have spelled it with a Y because I'm cool. Then Chris and Sypha start talking about how, I forget how rap names came up, but Chris is like, yeah, I've got like a terrible last name. It spells Get Hard.
I think it was.
And Sypha's like, no, that's a great rap name.
I think it was about how all nerdy white guys secretly want to be rappers.
They like.
Oh yeah, that's 100% true. The only non-true thing about that is the secret part.
I think Get Hard is a good rap name, though. I don't consume rap, though.
I don't know. I feel like it's a better male porn star name. So
it was the name of a Will Ferrell movie.
Yeah.
We get our fifth caller, who is also anonymous, and is just like super shitty to either Mimi or the human fish. Mimi's on the hoops in the back, and he's just like, oh, is that a Yeti or a Sasquatch in the back? Which makes me think, that's why I think it might have been the human fish, and the human fish flips him off. But
I think Chris thought it was Mimi.
Yeah, Chris thought that it was Mimi that he was being an asshole to. And after the jerk face song, Dawn, with perfect comedic timing, is just like, do you want to give a hint to Shannon? I think he's hung up on, though, or the person.
The caller was.
Shannon then guesses an ape's asshole. Chris tells her to zoom out, and she correctly guesses an ape, which means that now Sypha gets the headband, and it's a picture of a hockey fight, two dudes fighting.
And it also led to one of the funniest jokes of the whole episode when he got his clue about what was on his headband.
From caller 6.
Yeah, sorry, that was from caller 6.
Yeah, they got that there are no black people there ever. And Sypha guesses, so because of course there's no black people at hockey games. Not of course, but apparently. I don't know. I don't sports. Sypha guesses the Chris Gethard Show, which is a hilarious joke. But Random Gene, of course, has to come to the rescue.
We do have black guys. Phil Jackson is
Random Gene.
Yeah, there's a whole minute long clip, or half a minute long clip where they then shit on Gene for shutting down Sypha Sounds' joke. They're like, this is gonna be on YouTube. We're the show that shut down Sypha Sounds.
I also like Sypha.
I think it's also more of along the lines of pointing out the one black guy is kind of not super kosher.
Yeah. But I liked Sypha's second guess, which was the Ku Klux Klan.
Nope.
Anyway, we get our next caller then. It's our old pal, the guy who pretends to be Jack Klugman. I don't actually know who Jack Klugman is because I'm a millennial.
He was one of the stars of The Odd Couple.
Okay, yeah, once again, millennial. Don't know what that is.
It was a show about two divorced men who moved into an apartment together, and one of them was messy, and one of them was clean.
That sounds delightful, but...
He was also in 12 Angry Men.
Oh, I actually do know that one. Anyway, so he thinks it's disrespectful that the LLC doesn't play Odd Couple theme song, which I have no idea how that goes.
It goes a little like this.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. This is a beautiful moment unfolding.
Yeah, the studio audience just pulls it together. It's really cute.
All right, don't Jack Klugman enough.
And then
that's Shannon
Jack
at the
gives
end.
the clue. Myself and Tony Randall, who I assume is the other guy in Odd Couple, once performed The Odd Couple on ice. To which Sypha guesses Disney on Ice. And tells Jack he's a huge fan of Quincy MD, which I assume is another TV show.
Yeah, it was.
These pre-90 references are killing me.
Dawn then gives the next clue to Sypha because the caller is just all silence, and it's sport, which leads to Sypha getting that it is hockey. Jean then asks to go next, I think because she doesn't want to be the person who loses. But instead, Chris gets the headband, which has a picture of Ric Flair the nature boy, apparently a wrestler.
Yeah.
You shouted woo. Is that a noise that you can make for us, Forrest? Is it a particular woo?
Chris nails it, but it's the woo.
Okay.
That was his catchphrase.
Sick.
And he was like one of the heels who was a jerk.
Cool. Chris then encourages people to use the hashtag human fish out of water due to the nature of their question for the night. That's a pretty good hashtag.
Oh, yeah. It's a great hashtag. I definitely want to start using it years after the fact.
Yeah. And then human fish gets a new question, and it starts getting a little political. Sarah Palin versus Glenn Rice. I don't know who Glenn Rice is.
They explain in the episode he was like an athlete who had an affair with Sarah Palin like a year before she got married. He was a basketball player.
Her like last one night stand. Well, Glenn Rice won. He won.
Then we get to the lone cornmeal machine. Their suggestion this week was a blind date, so we get to see All Fours, the dog soap opera.
I'm going to cut open your scrotum. Oh! How about that?
That's true. They were neutered.
Not the right clip.
No,
I do have the right clip. It was an intended clip.
These dogs were neutered, so I think it was actually appropriate.
Exactly.
No, that was never the right clip.
On All Fours.
That's the right clip.
Veronica and Mitchell have broken up. Veronica is set up on a blind date by Luther. Her blind date is Mitchell. Veronica flees because she can't be with him. And it turns out it was all part of Luther's dastardly rise to power.
I liked that it was blind date because tonight we're watching the blind date episode. It's all about blind dates. Everyone who hasn't seen it should go watch it on YouTube because it's definitely available by now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Send it to your friends without context. If you're not sending it to your friends without context, you're not a true Gethard fan.
Speaking of true fans who get things without context, I love that people sent woo to Gethard on Twitter and he immediately got it. Because it was my first thought when I saw Ric Flair, as you mentioned, is I did a woo! And then after that correct guess, Don Finelli gets the headband and oh boy, he's up for a hard time.
Oh, it's just like a picture of like a kid eating cake batter out of a bowl or something.
Yeah. It was a really hard one.
It's super random.
Like there wasn't anything on the picture. Like it wasn't something notable. Anyway, next we have a musical guest again, Big Digits. Killed it again. Banana Man, I'm not sure if this is the first time they call him Banana Man.
I think they called him in the last episode.
Yeah, I think they already called him Banana Man.
They're starting to identify him.
He keeps shouting out Big Digits at the end because he's so excited. And then we get another human fish question, pork chops versus applesauce. He picks applesauce, which, I guess you kind of agree with. And then Shannon comments on Omar, who's a big fan of the show. I don't know if he's been mentioned before yet.
He goes on the show later.
Right. But Omar says he's taking half the panel out to dinner. And Shannon's like, well, why not the entire panel?
Who is he leaving out?
I don't think.
And then they pointed at random Gene. No, a bunch of people on the panel did that. It was a little mean.
No.
Pretty much. Then we get our ninth caller following up on the Sarah Palin thing, probably. He asks for the panel's thoughts about the current candidates in the 2011 Republican primary. And Shannon has no thoughts, but the human fish does.
Ron Paul versus broccoli sauce.
Broccoli sauce wins. Broccoli sauce. It still wins. And then Chris endorses Connor Ratliff for the presidency. I also endorse Connor Ratliff, even though he's not running again.
I also realized it should be it's the primary for the 2012 election.
Oh, that's a good point.
But yeah, I would endorse Connor Ratliff for sure. Then caller 10 calls in, and they're a little hard to understand, but their clue for the picture of the kid with cake batter is yummy. And Don guesses it's a gay horse.
Where did that come from? He got no other clues besides yummy, and he guessed a gay horse. Is this from the Mr. Hands era?
What?
You know that there's a terrible video of a person having sex with a horse?
No.
And then that person later died due to that.
I heard the news story about it, but
Yeah.
I don't know enough about it to make references to it.
Maybe it's I don't know why Gay Horse just came out of nowhere.
I don't know, but
I'm trying to figure it out. I'm a
don't think-
detective here.
I don't think it's that.
Robin, you're looking at me like I watch videos of people having sex with animals, which I do not. This was in pop culture.
You're being very defensive.
The next clue for Don was that it's what Chris sees when he looks in the mirror. And then Bethany gave the clue of youth, and Don guessed a fucking gummy bear? I don't know.
I'm supposed to guess now?
Yes.
Okay, a fucking gummy bear. I don't know.
Not at all.
Fuck you, Noah, for making me.
Yeah. Yeah. Don is really snippy, and Chris calls him out on it, which just makes him get like even more snippy because he's really good at being snippy. It's really funny.
And then Sypha gives the clue of Duncan Hines, which is a very good clue if you know.
What is that clue?
It's a company that makes cake batter.
Oh.
So like if you...
Oh, I thought they make ice cream.
They probably
They might
do.
also make ice cream, but they also make cake batter. But if you know what it is, it's like, oh, that's a pretty good clue. If you don't, it's like, that doesn't help me at all. And then Don guesses birthday party, which is so close but still wrong that they bring Jackie on to be the judge of whether or not everything is accurate. And then Shannon says birthday party's in the ballpark, but he's still wrong at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next, we get an anonymous caller who says Sypha is a beautiful individual with a beautiful body and gives the clue dinner time. And Don guesses a bakery. And then Jackie gives the clue Jack Sprat could eat not fat. His wife could eat no lean. And Don guesses curds and whey and is like very sure at this point that is the correct answer.
Yeah, he's super pissy.
He's
Super, super pissy.
I would be frustrated given
yeah.
how straightforward all the other images were.
Right? And then we get Josh calling in, who's actually Michael Cruz Kane, friend of the show. And his out-of-place story is that when he was 13, he went to a fortune-telling machine called Zoltar. And actually, he just started, like, repeating the plot of Big, which made Chris really angry and call him out as Michael Cruz Kane, who's just calling to fuck with the show.
And I think
so
he
angry.
said that you're going to get an angry Facebook message from me later.
He's probably the guy who called in the previous week and gave the plot of Ocean's 11.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So time is running out for Don, and Shannon gives the clue empty, which Don guesses cookies and cream. An empty box of cookies and cream? A box of cookies? It was still wrong. We go back to big digits.
And after big digits, Chris asks Sypha, who started the air horn thing?
Like the ba-ba-ba-bow.
Yeah. And then,
which I shout a lot.
Yeah.
At comedy shows. Because I'm weird.
So you could actually make Chris's dream come true of him saying something that someone will like so much that they actually do the air horn.
I usually go, ow, ow. I don't know why. I want them to feel my love.
So I'm not going to lie, there's a part of me that now is tempted to bring an air horn next time we see Chris. I won't because he won't remember that he said that probably. But there's a part of me. And then Don's been reading... Wow, you liked what I said that much. Don has been reading the Twitter clues and guesses, is it an orphan with chocolate on its face? Because someone mentioned Oliver Twist. Chocolate cake on an orphan's face. Orphan's face. And then Jackie says, there's a B word. And then it says chocolate cake batter. And then Jackie gives it to Don because that's close enough.
That is super close enough. Super close enough.
I thought the B word was going to be bowl.
Bold.
Did they have it a bowl?
Bowl.
I don't know.
I did
Perhaps.
Or bitch.
I misheard it as a P word and thought it was plate.
Yeah. But we're getting to the end of the show, and we're getting pretty close to when we have to freaking watch Chris Gethard Presents.
Yeah, okay, so we'll hurry up. So Random Jean gets the headband, and it's a scene from Teen Wolf. And they give her a bunch of really, really, like, obvious clues, but she doesn't get any of them because she's never seen Teen Wolf.
I have never seen Teen Wolf. I would not have gotten that.
I've also never seen Teen Wolf. I would not have gotten it.
I haven't seen Teen Wolf, but I would have gotten it after basketball.
That's your superpower, though,
Yeah.
Forrest, is knowing the references to things you've never seen. That is your superpower.
That's
I'm
not
sorry
wrong.
that your superpower sucks.
Well, you outed this was my secret identity, but now everyone knows.
And then we end with Gene singing "We Didn't Start the Fire," which is a really fucking hard song to sing. And then Dawn jumps in, and Shannon jumps in, and Chris is like, "Is this how we're ending the show?" It's a beautiful disaster, and that is, in fact, how they end the show. Which means that now it's time for my special segment, MVMPC, my favorite audience member. I love you! And it's Julia. Today it's Julia. Her name is Julia. Fuck, I looked this up. She's like actually a comedian in her own right. Well, she's great, and I love her, and she was in a cute little elephant costume this time. Which means it's now time for that canonical corner over there where canon happens.
That's all you need to know.
So I have 3 pieces of canon this time. The first is Gethard's shirt says Pitchel on it because Splitsider's Samantha Pitchel was one of the first members of the comedy press to sing the praises of the Gethard Show.
Awesome.
With her article, No Cool Kids, inside the insane, unpredictable world of the Chris Gethard Show. And of course, the production company that Gethard did with the True TV episodes and CGP is No Cool Kids. So I think that's a really cool connection. Cypher Sounds would return to TCGS on episode 30, The Night of Zero Laughs 3, episode 51, The Night of Zero Laughs 2, and episode 193, Pandora's Call-In Topics. And as we mentioned earlier, Dawn gave Chris a signed picture of John Starks from the New York Knicks, and he would later be on TCGS on episode 168, Slam Dunks, Slam Poetry, which had the flying Walt Whitmans doing dunks while John Hodgman read Walt Whitman poetry. And I said it was on True TV. It was actually on Fusion. So, correction, don't send us your emails.
Yeah. That means it's now time for Judge Robin's scorecard. All rise for the Honorable Judge Robin.
And be seated. All right, it's that time where at the end of the episode where I give everyone points based on how funny I thought they were. All right, let me see. Okay, so Jean got a point for the gift that she gave Chris just because I thought that was very heartfelt.
That was nice.
I have a note here. It's illegible, so I'm going to skip that one. Shannon got a point for her guess of fat native dude. Dawn got a point for after having that weird caller, just being like, "Do you want to give a clue to Shannon?" Cypher Sounds got a point for pointing out there's no black guys on TCGS. Gene lost a point for correcting that joke. Human Fish got a point for Ron Paul versus broccoli sauce. Dawn got a point for being very angrily shouting curds and whey. And then Shannon got a point for karaoke. And then in first place with 5 points, of course, is air horns. Hit that button, Emily.
Oh, shit.
Hit it.
Bow, 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 bow. Fuck yeah. Judge Robin, would you suggest this episode as one for a current fan who hasn't watched all of the previous episodes of TCGS to watch?
Yeah, it was a fun one.
Yeah. Would you suggest it for someone who's never seen the Chris Gethard Show?
You know, I think it's a good opener one also.
Yeah.
You know, it's got a game. It kind of works. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a disaster.
Yeah.
Calls are funny.
Yeah. It has Cypher Sounds. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's super cool. That means it's time for our very final segment, the TCGS Expanded Universe. I'm sorry, Force Keeper of the Canon. I didn't ask you what you thought.
Oh, I'd suggest it.
Okay.
I agree with everything Judge Robin said. It's a good episode, and you get a nice blend of bits like working as intended and then beautiful disasters.
Yeah. So now tell us about the Expanded Universe.
So first, Chris Gethard is going on the Half-Life tour because he started doing comedy in New York City just before his 20th birthday, which means he's now been doing comedy for half his life. And it's going to be a blend of live tapings of Beautiful Anonymous, some stand-up, some at comedy clubs, some at punk venues, and it's just like a total blend of everything he's done over the course of his career. And we're going to have some links to some of the venues he's going to in the show notes. Phil Jackson, speaking of, also has a new EP that's out, which you can get for free at his website, and the link to that will be in the show notes. And then this isn't new, but it's worth seeing. It's Seinfeld, The Leaning Susan, which is a completely original Seinfeld episode written by Drew Johnston, Matt Moskovic, Glenn Buzan, Claire Downs, Melinda Taub, and Nathan Min, who I think we actually may have seen something. But Drew Johnston plays George, and Noah Foreman plays Jerry. And it's like a pitch-perfect Seinfeld episode, and so it's definitely worth seeing if you're a fan of theirs. Or of Seinfeld.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Definitely want to see that. Well, I'm going to play us out now to everyone singing We Didn't Start the Fire. It's pretty great. Thank you all for listening. I hope you check out this episode. I hope that you check out Joe Rumroll. Why am I forgetting? Joe Rumroll and Rachel Pegram. We're so excited to see it. We have exactly 7 minutes before it starts.
Nathan Min was in Police Pals Doctor. He was the doctor. Speaking of Joe Rumrill, he worked with Joe Rumrill.
Oh, that's badass. Awesome. Thank you all so much, and have watch the show. Okay.
Joseph Stalin.
Picture this. Didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. No, we didn't fight it. No, we didn't fight it. Little rock, I can laugh, Nicky, man, I'll crawl, rock, squat, Nick, Stuart.
You skipped an entire verse.
Oh, did I?
Joseph
Oh, yeah.
We're ending the show?
Our Princess Grace, Peyton Place, trouble in the Suez. Start the fire! It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. No, we didn't fight it, but we tried to fight it. Little rock, fast as time, thinking that a rack. Scott, Nick, Stuart, now. Charleston Gloves, California baseball, stuck with the homicide, children of the landmine. Billy Holly's face, space, monkey mafia, the Bruce Castro, and still is a no-no. You two sleeping right, hey, always wanted it. Chubby checker, psycho, Belgians in the Congo. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. Start the fire. No, we didn't fight it, but we tried to fight it.
Anyway, Eichmann, strangers and a strange land. Berlin, Bay of Pigs invasion. Lawrence of Arabia, British Beatlemania. Ole Miss, John Glenn, Liston Bees, Patterson, football, Malcolm X, British politician, sex, JFK, blown away. What else do I have to say? We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. No, we didn't fight it, but we tried to fight it. Birth control, Ho Chi Minh, Richard Nixon, back again. Moonshot, Woodstock, Watergate, Hope, Rot, Reagan, Palestine, terror on the air. Sessions in Afghanistan, Fortune, Sally Ride, heavy metal, suicide, foreign deaths, homeless beds, AIDS, crack, Bernie gets, hypodermics on the shores, China's under martial law, rock and roll and cola was, I can't take it anymore, start the fire, with burning since the world's been turning, we didn't start the fire, and we didn't fight it, we started on and on and on, the fire, it was always burning since the world's been turning, we didn't start the fire, we didn't fight it, but we tried to fight it. Repeat the entire song! One more time! Mary Truman, Doris Day, Red China, Johnny Ray, South Pacific Water, with Lomo DiMaggio, Ron McCarthy, Richard Nixon, Studio Maker, Television, North Korea, South Korea, Marilyn Monroe, Rosenberg, Jake Funk, Sugar Ray, Van Buchan, Randall, the King and I, and the Catcher in the Rye, Eisenhower vaccine, England's got a new queen, Marciano, Liberace, Santayana, goodbye, Joseph Stalin, Mama Kelp, President Proclamation. Rockefeller, Campanella, Communist Club, Roy Cohn, Juan Perón, Tuscanani, Danny Crunch, Champion Hufus, Rocket Round the Clock, Einstein, James Caesar, Brooklyn's got a winning team, Jimmy Crockett, Peter Pan, Disneyland, Florida, Budapest, Alabama, Cruise, Space, Taking Place, Travel in the Suez, Mickey Mantle, Canada, Sputnik, Joanna, Cottage on the River, Lebanon, California,
Well, this is gonna be a YouTube clip.